And in the interest of time, I'm just going to move on to our last two speakers. And sorry, something I should have said is that if people would like to ask questions, you can upload them, and we hopefully will have some time to get to them. And if we don't, we'll certainly go back to you after the webinar. So our next two speakers are Mike Burke and John Hanrahan. Mike qualified as a vet in 1989, and for the last 30 years, he has been working exclusively in the pig sector in Ireland. And John is from Grana, County Limerick. He runs and operates a farrow to finish unit, which produces over 44,000 pigs per year for slaughter. The unit is home milling and also antibiotic and zinc free for just over 3 years. And in his spare time, John also operates a dairy herd. And so what John and Mike are going to talk about is sustainable antibiotic usage in pig production.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mike.
Okay, Caroline. So I'm just going to introduce the session. I'm the vet for John Hanrahan's unit, Wheeler Ranch Pigs, and tonight we're going to look at the key factors in an antibiotic reduction strategy on his integrated pig unit. So first of all, I'd like to say that in fact this transition in his unit an antibiotic-free status, all the heavy lifting was done prior to my becoming involved in the unit in a partnership between John, his vet at the time, Dennis Kelleher, and his nutritionist from Provemi, Ireland, Ultan Keedy. So I certainly don't want to take any credit for most of the work that was done in this initiative. Just to introduce John's unit, it's a 1600 sow farrow to finish unit. The unit is positive for Mycoplasma pneumonia, which is the gateway organism for a lot of the respiratory pathogens. It's porcine circovirus positive, but it's PRRS virus negative, and PRRS for the non-pig attendees is an immunosuppressive virus, which has a big impact on the disease burden on a pig unit. So he's actually negative for that. He's home milling, and at present in 2021, all his diets are now free of in-feed medication and zinc oxide, which is used in a lot of the weaned piglet diets to control enteric bacterial infections. Back in 2016, the unit experienced a very high level of disease, mainly concentrated in the farrow rooms, where there was a lot of piglet scour and where there was a lot of issues with sows not eating after farrowing, and naturally that led to problems with lactation and piglets not thriving. And the second aspect of those disease issues were a very high incidence of scour and looseness in the grower pigs from let's say 20 to 40 kilos. Now the exact cause of these problems was never fully elucidated, but there was an underlying swine flu issue, and there seemed to be some issues with rotavirus involved in that grower scour. But a number of initiatives were undertaken to try and control these disease issues. So first of all, a swine pandemic flu vaccine was introduced. The vaccine for the porcine circovirus was changed to an intradermal one. The genetics that were being used in the herd were changed, and then there were various husbandry alterations made for the different sections on the unit. Now, after all of these, there was still some scour remaining, some scour and looseness in these second stage pigs from 20 to 40 kilos. So at that stage, there was still a lot of antibiotic medication in the grower diets to control the scour, and it was decided to remove an awful lot of this medication to see would that make a difference. And that medication was removed, and the scour and looseness issues improved significantly. So it seems that while these antibiotics were useful initially in that they helped to control the problem to some degree, over time they actually became part of the problem in that we're having a huge impact on the microbiome or the enteric microflora in the pigs. So once these antibiotics were removed, the problem significantly improved. And then the element of scour or looseness that remained in these core pigs finally disappeared when another vaccine was introduced for ileitis in the pigs, the Lawsonia intracellularis vaccine. So that's how to just give you some background to why this unit has gone antibiotic free. So I suppose it was a response to a significant disease challenge, and as all these different changes were implemented and the health status improved over time, then the unit has tried to eliminate all in-feed antibiotics and zinc oxide. I suppose for me, having arrived into the unit as many of these problems were resolved, and just looking back on what had happened and what are the takeaways, I suppose the first takeaway I would say is that this was a team effort involving John, the owner of the unit, the vet and the nutritionist, and what's often forgotten, the staff on the unit, in that we had to get buy-in, there had to be buy-in from the staff for a lot of the changes in work practices and how pigs were looked after on the unit. The second takeaway for me is that for a lot of these initiatives to try and improve herd health or to reduce antibiotics, there is no silver bullet, there is no one vaccine, or there is no husbandry change that will accomplish this transition. But it's a combination of several things implemented over time that will lead to your final goal. And I suppose the last takeaway for me was the attention to detail. And I think one of the things that John will talk about, which is how pigs are managed pre and post weaning, gives an illustration of the attention to detail that's needed to improve the health status in your unit and to reduce the reliance on antibiotics. And I suppose one of the positive things of this initiative is that the costs on the unit in terms of health for that, they haven't really increased, or the labour cost hasn't increased significantly, but the expenditure on those items has been redirected. So whereas before a lot of the labour went into identifying sick pigs, pulling out sick pigs and treating them, that now goes into paying attention to pigs at different transition periods, and then the money that was spent on antibiotics, that's now spent on vaccines. But John will talk more about that in one of his slides. So now I'm going to hand over to John, and he's going to talk about what he considered the most important factors in solving the herd health puzzle on his farm.
Okay, Mike, and can you hear me, Mike?
I can hear you, John, yeah?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks a million, Mike. You bring back memory from the unit by all accounts. Just solving the herd health puzzle, I could have put in 20 of these, but we picked actually 6 of the most important. They were the post and pre-weaning management, nutrition, all-in, all-out system, the vaccination, the management of pullouts, hospital pens, and cleaning and disinfection. Be honest with you, we should have also included drying in there, would be quite important. If we just move on to the next slide there, Mike. Our first stage house, I feel this is very, very important. Sorry, our pre-weaning, sorry, my apologies. Our pre-weaning, I feel this is very important. Our pigs go on dry feed at roughly 5 days of age, and at approximately 10 days of age, we go on to wet feed. They're approximately on that wet feed until day 28. We do a mixed ratio of possibly 2 to 1, there or thereabouts. the most important thing in this section we do find is only give the pigs this creep, this wet feed when the trucks are empty. Always keep the trucks clean at all times. So do not refill the trucks unless they're clean. We're achieving quite good growth rates here of, creep intake here of between 400 and 500 grams continuously. I suppose the most important part I do find of the whole unit at the moment, and there's a number of them, but one of the most important ones is the post-weaning. We wean on a Monday morning. We wean at approximately 7 o'clock in the morning, and we wean in litters. So what I mean by litters is we wean literally 3 families together, roughly 40-something pigs. That group of pigs stay together until they go to the factory, more or less. There might be an odd pull out here and there, non-thrift pig or whatever, but that group stays together at all times. The Monday is quite a hard working day in that room, for the reason is we feed the wet feed every 2 hours. So we feed it 4 or 5 times a day. It seems like a lot of work, but it is actually, it's only for the first few days that a lot of work is in it, little and often. We must make sure there's a feeder for all pigs. It is very, very important. And also what we do in that section is we come back at 9 o'clock at night and give them a top up for the night. So when we go to the following day, the Tuesday, just to bear with it for a minute, when we come in the morning, we come in around 6:30, we actually clean and wash all the trucks next morning. We found that a major advantage on the farm. The pigs are, they start eating straight away. There is no rejection of food or anything. If we didn't clean and wash the trucks, there would be a rejection of food. So that works extremely well. There would be a little bit of looseness on the sows, my apologies, on the piglets on day 2 after weaning. But all I can say there is hold your nerve, play with it, and when we change over to that lib system by Thursday, the pigs are absolutely away. There is no work on them after Thursday. I see there at the end of the slide the word heat is on it. That is very important. Ventilation is vital and heat is vital. The house must be fresh and there must be enough warmth in the room. I suppose it's important to remember that these piglets are coming from their mother and they're going into a new environment and they need to be kept as comfortable as possible. I actually changed ventilation in one, I changed insulation in one house and it really increased the intake. It really increased everything in the pig. So I think on my side of it, it is really important to heat in the house. Can we go to the next slide there, please, Mike? Okay, all in, all out, I suppose, as I mentioned already, we wean in litters. We do 40 a pin there or thereabouts. To go through this one quickly, pigs go forward in our unit all the time. Each pigs are weaned on a weekly basis. There is no pig under no circumstances brought back through the system. They keep going forward. On the first stage houses, we leave a couple of pins empty, so we pull out the poor drivers, or the ones that just don't get going for the first week. We do the same in the second stage. We leave a pin empty. You would have very, very few pigs there, maybe 3 or 4 a week, but little or nothing. It's not worth talking about. Any pigs that recover in the unit and get going again, once they hit 60 kgs, we slaughter them out. I think this is important not to be taking up slow drivers, and it's only a small percentage of the pigs. It's probably less than 1%. Okay, Mike, we'll go to the next slide, please. Vaccinations. I suppose the important bit, the vaccination gun you're looking at there is an ID gun. That's a needleless gun. It makes so much sense to me that you do not use needles for every pig. I'd love to be able to do it there. Unfortunately, we're not able to do it at the moment. But I love the intradermal gun. From that particular one there, we're doing the PCV and the pneumonia vaccine. And the timing is very important. We do it at day 21 to 23. Now, we stopped the flu vaccine of January of this year. That was a big one for us. And Mike might explain that maybe a bit better than I would. But we blood sample the sows and the growers all over the farm, and we do factory checks. And that's given us a lovely, I suppose, bar chart for the last couple of years to see the teachers, see what we're doing on the unit, to see how good or bad are the vaccines working. And I think that's vital. It's a bit like the selective dry cow therapy. You know, it is something that we have to do. It's part of what we're doing. Okay. Oh, sorry. And the ileitis vaccine as well. I probably thought that was the glue that really did the unit, put the unit together. We get no looseness anywhere up along the farm where we were getting it before. I actually think that itis vaccine was the glue to put everything together for us. We'll move on to the next one, please, Mike. Okay, cleaning and disinfection. As I said earlier, we probably should have put the word drying in here as well. We turn on sprinklers in these houses, we wash, then we foam the house. That white powder you see there, that's actually a foam. That white foam you see there, that actually takes the grit and all that type of stuff off the house. We find that vitally important to clean the house down. And I think this, myself personally, I think this in our farm, this is the internal biosecurity. We're in a continuous flow farm. And when we break the cycle, it's difficult to break the cycle in continuous flow. The best place to break it is washing and cleaning. We do a lot of work in washing and disinfecting, but the most important thing is drying. And we would dry for a day and a half before we put pigs into it again. And we'd also put a dry disinfectant on the unit. Like, as I say, this is my definition of internal biosecurity. Yes, there's no pigs going back. Staff don't go to other sections, but I think this is vital in the game. We can go to the next one, so please, Mike. Okay, home milling. We're actually home milling for about 20 years, and you've great control over the ingredients and quality of ration you're given. I suppose on the unit here, we have 7 diets from weaning to finishing. And we're weighing the pigs, we're taking the FCEs, we're taking the daily live weight gains, we're doing that all along the unit. And what I find very important about this is you can match the diets. When you have 7 diets, you can match the diets to the growth rate. And what you're doing then, you're getting your protein correctly and you're getting your immune response correctly. You're really getting your amino acids working. So that's basically that one. We can move on to the next one, Mike. Okay, 2017 to 2021. As I mentioned, I suppose we're 3 strong years now, antibiotic and zinc free. As Mike mentioned earlier, there is no change whatsoever in the herd health cost. The changes on the daily live weight gain and the food, the FCE, the food confessional deficiency, it is evident they're growing very well, everything is better, but the most important thing in the unit, outside of the money, of course, is vital at these times. What's more important, and Mike mentioned it earlier, is the staff. Staff is easier to manage. The staff are more happy at their work. They're more into it. I see in the unit, they would never miss a washing. Even if it had to be done on a Saturday, they'd come back in. They don't want to go back to where we were. And I suppose my reward for all this is the value of the FCE and the average daily live weight gain. But I can't stress enough that the internal biosecurity is vital to put this together. Okay, Mike, I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John and Mike, for that really positive case study that it can be done to remove all your infeed that size is a good achievement.